All industries in decline, yet one Chinese sector experiences expansion. Rumors resurface. Tianjin's debt ratio hits 500%. Bankruptcy looms. Who's to blame? Country Garden faces liquidation petition, a repeat of Evergrande's fate? Chinese hold tight to wallets. Business owners lament tough market conditions. It's all covered in today's China Truths. All industries in decline, yet one Chinese sector experiences expansion. A string of policy missteps by the Chinese Communist Party leadership has sparked an economic downturn in China. While the economy was previously lifted by the real estate and internet sectors, it is now losing momentum, with only one sector witnessing a resurgence and expanding. Producing Western weapons, experts say it's playing both sides. Lin Hui, using a pseudonym, told the Epoch Times about his business dealings with China's military and his tours of 3 military production sites in the central region, a weapons manufacturer, a battery supplier for submarines and aircraft carriers, and a producer of air-to-air missiles. He described one manufacturer, possibly a private company specializing in metal parts for firearms, showcasing its capabilities in a large showroom filled with challenging aluminum components, aiming to drum up more business. Lin mentioned this company received a Certificate of Excellence in Cooperation from Institute 208, a branch of the China Ordnance Equipment Group dedicated to light weapons research and supply for the CCP's armed forces. Curiosity led Lin to discreetly photograph the weapon castings. While it was easy to snap pictures at the first sight, the missile production facility had strict no-photo policies, heavily monitored to ensure compliance. Su Ziyun, head of the Strategy and Resources Institute at Taiwan's National Defense Security Research Institute, broke down the details from photos supplied by someone from mainland China. The first photo shows an artillery shell casing, likely a 122 or 152, fitting Chinese or Russian military specs, or possibly the 155 artillery used by NATO and the US. The flat top suggests a fuse, screwed in before firing, with missile warheads being electronically detonated. The second snapshot captures a grenade launcher, its origin, American or Russian, unclear. Its stand could be aluminum, but the crucial turning wheel is steel to handle the blast. The third photo is of an M16 or M4 rifle's standard armor, typically aluminum to lighten the load, while the barrel and mechanism are steel for durability against explosive forces. Mr. Su speculated on the presence of Western standard M16 rifles in the exhibit. The images likely showcase Western weapon samples, not CCP military gear, not meant for Russian or CCP forces unless for unique scenarios. He explained the mismatch in ammunition sizes. Western rounds are 5.56 mm, Russian are 5.4 mm, highlighting logistical incompatibilities for the CCP if targeting Taiwan. He suggested an unconventional strategy might involve a special unit using Western weapons to mimic Taiwanese forces, allowing them to use local ammo in a conflict, though this approach is far from standard. Su Ziyun's take on these weapons hitting the Russia-Ukraine war zone? It's a gray area without solid orders. But the showcase signals a clear intent. This company's ready to serve anyone's metalworking needs, be it for the West, CCP, or Russia. They're not picky, even NATO's been a client for bulletproof vests. Su thinks flaunting Western-style rifles aims to cut into the Ukrainian conflict supply line. If Turkey, sticking to NATO specs, orders for Ukraine, then this civil Chinese outfit could blend right into Ukraine's arsenal. He points out, this strategy implies the CCP is playing both ends for profit. State enterprises cater to Russia, while private ones aim for Ukrainian business. This dual strategy, wrapped in the CCP's usual lack of transparency, is a calculated guess at best. Despite China slamming the US as warmongers, the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI, data shows China as the world's #2 arms dealer, right behind the US and ahead of Russia. Evidence shows CCP suppliers playing both sides in Ukraine. Politico's scoop last year showed Chinese drones and vests popping up in Russia. There's also talk of drones for directing strikes and night vision scopes, plus plus a snag by Russia of a Chinese shipment to Poland meant for Ukraine, packed with military uniforms and drones tweaked for combat. The U.S.'s 2022 military report on China talks about iffy quality and reliability in Chinese arms exports, a stumbling block for Beijing's ambition to dominate the arms market, despite its budget-friendly pricing to the developing world. The CCP's military-industrial complex is on the rise. Lin Hui has seen firsthand how military-oriented firms are bucking the downtrend affecting most industries. In an era where financial tightening is the norm, defense projects stand out, eagerly investing in expansion and innovation. He observed an arms producer actively constructing a new plant and another firm specializing in air-to-air missiles investing heavily in an advanced, smart office complex. This stark contrast has left him astounded. While private and traditional sectors are cutting costs dramatically, the defense industry operates in a different realm, offering generous payments and reaping substantial profits. He said, "It's clear they're flush with cash. Without it, squaring up financially down the line would be a real headache." The post-pandemic world hit industries like automotive hard, cutting production and operational hours, a far cry from their non-stop pre-COVID hustle. The CCP's latest 5-year plan and its vision for 2035 underscore a drive toward tech independence in an evolving global scene. The U.S.'s 2023 analysis of CCP military capabilities underlines China's ambition for an autonomous defense industry, blending military and civilian tech advancements. Experts view this 5-year stretch as pivotal for China's military growth, with defense contractors expected to boom. The year 2020 was a watershed moment, marking a shift from gradual military development to an all-out prep for warfare, transitioning from R&D to mass production of arms. Su Xian highlights a steady 7% yearly increase in the CCP's defense budget, aiming for a generational leap in military hardware. Xi Jinping's decade-long military overhaul is set to bolster naval forces with new ships, electronics, and integrated systems, alongside updates to Army artillery and missiles. The U.S. report sheds light on China's hefty investment in defense modernization, employing espionage to snag high-tech, dual-purpose gear. This strategy aims to marry military and civilian tech efforts, particularly in AI, setting up joint research hubs and leveraging commercial AI and robotics for military gains. Mr. Su also mentions the strategic angle of dual-use tech, using civilian demand to cut costs while ensuring military projects benefit from civilian tech advancements. China's old game of turning civilian tech into military assets, often sourced from the West, has backfired, prompting Western democracies to pull away and inadvertently hitting China's civilian economy hard. Is China on a path similar to the Soviet Union's fall? Recently, the Chinese government has been tough on private companies, redirecting funds toward the military and tech sectors, reminiscent of pre-Deng Xiaoping times when the military held sway and civilian needs were sidelined. These state-run military ventures often suffer from inefficiency, lack of innovation, and corruption. Economists like Su Qinggang warn that China's economic vitality stems from its private sector. The CCP's crackdown on private enterprises to boost state-owned ones is a dead-end move. State-run companies come with their own issues like soft budget constraints, leading to inefficiencies. This approach failed for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, where neglecting private enterprise led to their downfall. Furthermore, Professor Chen Shiwu from the University of Hong Kong underscores worsening geopolitics, tensions in the Taiwan Strait and South China Sea, and a growing Cold War vibe with the U.S., potentially deterring multinational investment in China, challenging its export-led growth. The days of just chasing profits are over. Identity, beliefs, and the national system now influence China's export prospects. Professor Chen draws parallels with the Soviet Union, where defense took precedence over consumer needs, leading to economic stagnation. Meanwhile, Mr. Su Xian attributes China's economic woes to misguided CCP policies and Western disengagement from red industries, shrinking private businesses due to global trade shifts. Mr. Su concluded, Xi Jinping's Cold War mentality, believing military strength drives economic growth, is flawed. While military development can help, focusing too much on it risks a Soviet-style collapse, leaving a military-centric economy and ultimately leading to the disintegration of the nation. Rumors resurface. Tianjin's debt ratio hits 500%, bankruptcy looms, who's to blame? Recently, information about Tianjin's debt default has once again surged on various social media platforms. Ganqing Wang, a figure in current affairs, published an article on the X platform revealing that Chen Min'er, the party secretary of Tianjin, voluntarily disclosed that the city's debt ratio has reached 500%, resulting in bankruptcy. Who will be the next to take responsibility for the financial collapse? This revelation has sparked a flurry of discussions among internet users, with some comments such as, "Tianjin is the worst city in China, even worse than most second-tier cities and definitely inferior to Chengdu. Chengdu, at least, has some tourism, agriculture, and even internet infrastructure. Tianjin, on the other hand, is overrun by civil servants. The people here are still living in the Cultural Revolution era, fixated on politics all day without giving a second thought to the economy. They've created countless civil service positions just to serve their own interests, constantly relying on handouts from the central government. The ballooning expenses of the civil service today are like cancer eating away at the nation's resources, driving the country toward ruin. It's absurd. I saw this coming more than a decade ago. It's not just Tianjin, around 80% of the cities across the country are facing bankruptcy. By the year's end, there were whispers circulating on social media outside of China that Chen Min'er had enacted 3 measures in Tianjin. 1. Cease supplementary housing provident fund payments for civil servants. Tianjin stands out nationwide for this, with funds higher than typical employee incomes. 2. Drastically slashed civil servant performance evaluations. 3. Streamlined the civil service ranks to curb fiscal spending. Similar moves were made in Chongqing previously, prompting many civil servants to either tough it out or resign. At the inaugural meeting, Chen Min'er laid bare Tianjin's dire financial situation, with a 500% debt ratio and bankruptcy looming, signaling the first round of cuts will hit civil service salaries. Starting in 2022, schools, public institutions, and even some civil servants in Tianjin have experienced delayed or reduced wages. And since 2023, the problem has only worsened, with widespread wage delays becoming more common. In September last year, a well-known Tianjin entrepreneur familiar with the situation told Radio Free Asia that Tianjin's finances had already gone bankrupt. Increasing taxes seemed to be the only solution, putting a strain on businesses. Grassroots cadres were becoming increasingly ruthless in their extortion efforts, squeezing every last penny. Many have also revealed that the Hebei district in Tianjin was forced to borrow money from local temples to meet payroll. At the same time, the incident of wage arrears among Tianjin bus drivers escalated for several days and was dubbed by netizens as the Tianjin autumn shock. Some internet users have pointed out that despite being supported as a directly administered municipality by the central government, Tianjin's GDP dropped out of the top 10 nationally in 2020. They argue that Tianjin's decline is significant enough to warrant the revocation of its municipality status. Additionally, some have even suggested that Tianjin should become the provincial capital of Hebei. Top officials can't dodge accountability. Regarding this topic, independent commentator Kai Shenquan published an article on February 27 titled "Who's Responsible for Tianjin's Colossal Debt?" Mr. Kai mentioned that Li Hongzhong led Tianjin as party secretary for a full 6 years, aggressively accumulating debt for political gains, leaving Tianjin saddled with massive debt. Tianjin public transport received substantial subsidies from 2020 to 2022, yet its asset-liability ratio continued to climb, reaching alarming levels by Q1 2023. An April 2023 report highlighted Tianjin's debt issues, citing its high ratio and reliance on special bonds. By the end of 2022, Tianjin's local government debt exceeded 889 billion yuan, nearly $124 billion, with urban investment and construction firms burdened with trillions in debt. Prior to Li Hongzhong, Zhang Gaoli's leadership saw significant investment projects, some of which were left unfinished. In January 2016, Wang Qishan's political bureau initiated an investigation into Tianjin's financial situation, revealing its dire state. The recent exposure of Tianjin's bankruptcy has led some to believe that Chen Min'er, since becoming secretary, is avoiding responsibility. However, it doesn't absolve him of the CCP local government's massive debts. Kai Shenkuan's article pointed out that even after Chen Min'er succeeded Li Hongzhong, he couldn't solve the debt crisis, despite having the Zhejiang New Army advantage. The debts he accrued in Guizhou and Chongqing have been a headache for his successors. Chen Min'er's roots in the CCP's Zhejiang officialdom span over 30 years. During Xi Jinping's Zhejiang tenure from 2002 to 2007, Chen Min'er held various positions, gaining Xi's trust and rising to deputy governor. From 2012 to 2017, Chen Min'er served in Guizhou, then in Chongqing from 2017 to 2022 as party secretary, before transferring to Tianjin. Country Garden faces liquidation petition, a repeat of Evergrande's fate? On February 28, Country Garden, a leading Chinese real estate firm, revealed it had received a liquidation petition for not paying around 1.6 billion Hong Kong dollars, about $204.4 million in loans and interest. This comes after Evergrande Group, another heavyweight in the real estate sector already sunk in debt, faced liquidation. In a notice to the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, Country Garden shared that Evercredit Limited, a creditor, launched the liquidation petition on February 27, causing its stock to plunge over 12% at the start. The Hong Kong High Court is set to hear the case on May 17, with the outcome pending on whether Country Garden can be liquidated. Country Garden is fighting the petition tooth and nail, arguing that liquidation would be a loss-making outcome for all involved parties. Earlier rumors claimed Country Garden was on the brink of liquidation, with a local bank poised to snatch up its assets. The company denied these whispers, but by month's end, the gossip turned out to be spot on, making netizens remark on the truth behind rumors. The information has sparked lively debates online, with folks poking fun at the company's stance against liquidation, suggesting it might be a way to cut losses. Critics are translating the company's opposition to liquidation as a reluctance to repay debts, with some questioning if avoiding liquidation is just a tactic to further delay asset transfers. Since July 2022, Country Garden has been grappling with a debt crisis, becoming another trillion-debt real estate player in China, following the path of Evergrande. Earlier this year, the debt-laden China Evergrande Group was ordered to liquidate by a Hong Kong court, now navigating a complex restructuring. Chinese hold tight to wallets, business owners lament tough market conditions. After the new year, China's economy hit a rough patch, leading many owners of clothing, food stores, and restaurants to face tough times. Business is hard, with a significant number of shops shutting down due to financial losses. Yang Ling, a pseudonym for a clothing store owner in Kunming, shared with NTD Television that sales were down even during what should have been a booming season right before the new year. Post-holiday, things got even tougher, with her business and about 30 to 40% of local stores closing up shop. She lamented that it's like they're hemorrhaging money just to stay open. Customers are only buying necessities, sparingly at that. The vibe is totally off now, it's like nothing's working out. Similarly, Mr. Chen, dealing in foreign liquor wholesale in Guangzhou, pointed out the shrinking market due to the exodus of the wealthy and the financial downfall of many in the middle class. In Sichuan, restaurant owner Mr. Zhua attributes the reluctance to spend to the lack of security in housing, healthcare, and education for the average Chinese citizen. He said, "Business is on the decline because incomes are down. Many are out of money, and the outlook is bleak. It's an environment where running a business feels impossible. To turn things around, we've got to boost incomes. Solve the people's basic worries, and they'll start spending. Imagine if housing was affordable and healthcare was free, everyone would open their wallets. The economic downturn is also hitting low-income workers hard. Post-Chinese New Year, migrant workers flocking back to cities for jobs are hitting a wall with fewer openings and slashed wages, seeing their hourly pay cut by a third compared to 3 years ago. According to a business owner in Zhejiang, finding workers is easy now due to the dip in export demand and the surge of workers from other areas, leading to a surplus beyond his company's requirements. Looking at Dongguan, a manufacturing export stronghold, the job market is drying up. Official figures show only 163,000 jobs available post-New Year, a stark drop from the 176,000 last year and far below the 250,000 to 300,000 in 2022. A Guangzhou recruitment agent notes the labor glut has pushed temporary wages in Shenzhen and Dongguan down by about a third from 3 years ago, now at just 18 to 19 yuan, about $2.64 per hour. The downturn is partly because factories are relocating abroad, and companies are cutting corners wherever possible. Let us know your thoughts on today's topic by leaving a comment below. If you found this video helpful, please share it with a friend. It inspires us to continue creating more quality and reliable content. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more interesting insights from China Truths. Thanks for tuning in.